After e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3 and black taking in e4, we're looking at the Rubinstein variation. We have to take the pawn with the knight. In this video we're going to cover bishop to d7 now. Very annoying move because it's very solid, although it's not supposed to be good. The idea of the black player is to develop the light square bishop before it gets completely closed off and out of the game. The idea is to swap this bishop for the knight in e4 and then just develop knight d7, knight f6 and play the boring, stupid game that players who play the French like to do. So now white goes on with bishop to d3, and after bishop to c6, this is how it goes. Go on with development, knight f3, and after knight to d7, the idea obviously is for black to take our knight so we can take back with the bishop, and then knight f6 will come with the tempo. However, this couldn't be done immediately, bishop takes, because then after knight f6, you have an attack on the square b7. So after knight to d7, c3 is the key move now. You don't need to lose this central pawn d4. No reason to gambit it. There was a time in my life where I used to gambit that pawn a lot in exchange of development, but in reality it's just a lost pawn. So just play c3 and put this nice chain of pawns in the center. Knight g to f6 now and simply swap. Knight takes, knight takes. By the way, let's make a quick mention that instead of knight takes, what happens if queen takes? Well, bishop g5 traps the queen. And now here the black player is forced to take the knight with the bishop with an attack on our queen. White goes on with queen d2, very cheeky move. And now the attack on the queen remains and the queen is still trapped. So after bishop takes g2 with an attack on the rook, trying to take as much material as possible, we take the queen, black takes our rook, but then bishop to h4. And white is winning this endgame. If white, let's say, plays bishop to f3, then queen to f4 attacks c7, attacks the bishop, so we're winning. If black plays bishop all the way back to c6, castle. There's no counterplay for black. If bishop to e7, we're happy to swap, and when the king takes back, we're completely winning. And in this position, if knight to f6 instead of bishop e7, not looking for swaps, either way doesn't matter, just take. Pawn takes back and now d5. All you want to do is open the file. Bishop takes, now c4, attack the bishop. We don't care, we want to give up all the pawns so that our queen and rooks become effective. Bishop to c6, now bishop to e4. Boom! The bishop can't take our bishop because queen d7 is made. Nothing helps here, so after bishop to d6, I say take, and now c5. Should be winning the game. We got an infiltration of the queen. We don't have a mate. We don't have a checkmate, but we got the infiltration of the queen. We're going to clean up the 7th rank. So from the start, e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3, pawn takes, knight e4, bishop d7, bishop to d3, bishop c6, knight to f3, knight to d7, okay, create this chain, very boring and solid defense, knight g to f6, okay, take, and after taking back the knight, castle. So what's the plan here to go on with this game? It's very boring. So how do you even make progress in a game like this? After bishop to d6, you play rook to e1. You just gotta place the pieces in the right squares. That's basically how it works. And after castling, knight to e5, which is a move that was inevitably going to happen. It's very important that you understand that the idea here is to play bishop c2, queen d3, and then checkmate on h7 as soon as the knight is no longer in f6. How do we get the knight to disappear from f6? We might think of playing bishop g5, take the knight, but only after we've built this battery of queen helped by the bishop. If bishop takes e5, this is just good for white. We can take back the pawn. The knight will no longer be able to stay in f6 at all, meaning that there's a weakness on h7. Let's see what happens after, I don't know, normal move like rook to e8. Developing the rook or something. Okay, bishop to g5, that's the plan. Attack the bishop, and after bishop back to e7, best move, still take, bishop takes back, and now bishop h7 check, sacrifice, boom, king takes back, queen h5 check. We got an attack on f7. After the king moves, queen f7, king h8, and now the best move is rook to e3, threatening, rook to h3, winning the game. After the best move by black, which is bishop e4, protecting the square h7 a little bit further, you still play rook h3 check. And let's not forget that bishop e7 is still not possible because knight g6 is checkmate. So in this position, black blocks with the bishop in h4, but now queen to h5 check, king moves, and rook to h4. It's an unstoppable initiative. The knight is covering the square f7. It's game over. In this position, we mentioned what happens after rook e8, so how quickly things go really wrong. Things can escalate and go down into brutal violence, just like it happens anytime women are fighting over me. A move like queen to e7, developing the queen, looks like a normal move, but still you play bishop to g5, and after h6, attacking the bishop, bishop to h4, keep the pin, and now g5 cannot happen. Now white plays bishop to g3, and see how the game goes on. Rook a to d8, bishop to c2, you want to build that battery. The plan obviously is to play queen d3 and then knight to g4, trading for this knight and going to h7. So that's something I'm going to show in the next line as well. Let's look at this move now, knight to d7, challenging this incredible knight. And going for a move that I've seen a lot, which is f5. Okay, go on with the plan, queen d3, aiming at h7. And after f5, take this bishop, break the pawn structure, and now rook takes e6. Boom! It's an incredible move. The queen cannot take back because bishop to b3 pins the queen to the king. So after the queen moves to g7, bishop takes the bishop, pawn takes back, rook takes back. Massive advantage for white. So let's go back a few moves. In this position, after bishop h4, we went to g4 and see that didn't really work properly. What happens after now? Rook a to d8, normal move. Okay, knight to g4. The idea is obviously to put more pressure on this knight and break the pawn structure in front of our king, in front of the opponent king. And we have easily succeeded because the queen is occupying the square e7 instead of the bishop doing that. And a move like g5 now just doesn't help because knight h6 check, king g7, looks like there's an attack on the knight and an attack on the bishop. But in reality, you just take the pawn in g5. You didn't see that, did you? The last recap, e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3, pawn takes, knight takes back, bishop to d7, okay. Bishop to d3, bishop to c6, knight f3, knight d7, c3, knight f6, we take the knight, knight takes back, castle. After bishop to d6, rook e1, castle. And now knight to e5. Let's see what happens when black plays the preemptive h6. Basically, h6 just stops the whole bishop g5 coming, and the knight can stay in f6, sleeping peacefully and having sweet dreams. White goes on with bishop to c2. And now to look at one of them being bishop takes knight. Obviously, the idea is to swap everything and go to a boring endgame. Here we don't allow that. We just play rook takes e5. And our bishops are incredible. We have the bishop pass, so we're winning. So that's how you play this game. Knight to d7 attacking the rook, rook to e3. Ready to transfer the rook on the king side. So knight to f6, rook to g3. There's no defense already. Black playing the best moves now, bishop to e4. There's no coming back. Bishop to e4, bishop takes. We gave up the bishop pair, but at this cost. Bishop to h6 comes now. And after king to h7, bishop to g7, we're just completely winning, as you can tell. So you notice how everything goes wrong with bishop takes e5. What happens after queen to e7? The normal move in this case to just keep developing. Okay, queen d3, placing pieces properly. And after rook a to d8, now bishop to f4 is the right move. Now knight h5 attacking the bishop is not possible because obviously queen h7 is mate. Black playing g5 now to attack a bishop is met simply with the winning move, knight to g4. Now, bishop takes bishop or pawn takes bishop, none of this works because you're threatening knight f6 check and then infiltrating the queen to h7 when the knight in f6 is removed from the defense of h7, obviously. Best move by black according to the engine is knight to e4 in this case. Now we proceed with clearing the board. Bishop takes in d6, queen takes back, getting into the game, but it's too late. Rook takes knight, we give up the exchange because then we can play knight f6 check, king moves, and now knight takes bishop. We're up. Basically, we give a rook for two pieces, two minor pieces. Queen e7, and now rook to e1, finishing development. And there's nothing here. A move like c5 doesn't work because you can just take. Queen takes, doesn't matter. You take back and take, you're up a piece. In this position, b6 with the idea of c5, exploiting the fact that the d4 pawn is pinned. It's too late. You play knight to g3, threatening knight f5, winning the game on the spot. Also, infiltrating in h5, queen h7 is possible. So that definitely doesn't work. And in this position, we mentioned how g5 is just completely wrong. The best move by black would be rook f to e8, b4. So even black playing the best top engine moves, still gives white a position of almost +3. White's idea now is to play b5, and when the bishop goes back to d7, play rook to e3, with the plan of playing rook to g3, exploiting the fact that the knight in f6 can never really move because of our very strong queen and bishop battery and our solid pawn chain that defends our queen and bishop so well. So in this position, black plays a6 to stop b5 from coming. Obviously, you play a4, and the idea remains the same. And the pawn in b can never really move because the knight will be taking the bishop, and the bishop in e5, the bishop can never take in because we can take back with the bishop or with the rook, but we will prefer the bishop so we can take the knight and threaten to go to h7. Black's best move is king to f8. But look, black is the one that brought all of this on himself. Even playing the best moves, you're still in big trouble because you give up so much activity for no reason. White goes on with b5, and after best move pawn takes, now pawn takes, bishop to d7. White's best move is h3. And again, knight h5 here seems to be possible attacking the bishop, but this king is completely smothered, so you can play queen h7 anyway. And knight can't take bishop because queen h8 is mate. So that's still not possible. So in this position, White's idea is to play c4, c5, trapping the bishop, and well, forcing him to swap, basically. After b6 by black, rook to a6 comes, and we're ready to double up the rooks. We're not afraid of swapping in case. So let's say, for example, one move ago, if black plays rook to a8, c4, we go for that plan. And also deprives the knight from being able to go to d5. So if the bishop takes, you might think of taking even with the pawn and completely misplace the black knight. But it depends. If black plays bishop to b4 attacking the rook e to b1, threatening to take the rook and then take this bishop. So of course the bishop will. And after rook takes and b6, it looks like now the black player might play bishop to d6 and support the square c5, but still, position has been evaluated +3 for a long time. Queen to e3 now. We abandon the idea of the battery here because that we used it to force so many moves from our opponent, and obviously we're winning now. Here the idea is very simple. Bishop h6, and this is now unstoppable. Well, if black plays knight a5, you just take in here. You're completely winning. Pawn takes, queen takes, king moves here, and you're attacking the knight. You're also attacking the square h7. Well, bishop h7, check, only move will be king h8, and you can take it from there because we've got a checkmate coming. And in this position, if knight to g8, stopping us from playing the sacrificing, then bishop g6 should do a lot of damage. You're threatening to take the pawn and then knight g6, winning the game completely. If black decides to even give up the exchange for that, which would be the best option still, just take the bishop with check, queen takes, bishop takes, and now if queen takes, then you're attacking this pawn. If king takes, well, then you're still attacking this pawn and you can take it. And it only gets easier now, because taking the bishop still leads to queen e6 check of the rook next move.